Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy, and in the early 2000s, I owned bejeweled pants.
That checks out.
It's very relevant to this week's clip.
Oh yes? Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, that's what the episode is we're going to talk about. We watched the Pandorica Opens, a thing that I definitely have seen, I think, multiple times, and I cannot tell you a single thing about it. Everything
really?
in here was new to me.
Well, in fairness, it was a very short clip.
I'm trying, the Pandorica Opens is one of the episode names that you know, and people reference a lot, and they're like, yeah, it's the one where the Pandorica opens, right? Even though, does it actually open, or does it open in the next, because this is like a two-parter.
It does.
So we're only watching one part of.
It does open. First of all, for the listeners, we're listening to we're watching a 45-second clip of the Pandorica Opens, which is takes place on a planet called Planet One.
Planet One, the oldest planet in the universe, and there's a cliff of pure diamond, and according to legend, on the cliff there's writing, letters 50 feet high, a message from the dawn of time.
I have it marked in my notes. I took notes for this episode.
Yay!
Because I didn't want to miss a single detail.
It's almost like we're a real podcast.
I was like, 11th goes, hey, we're going to go to an old-ass planet. It's just old.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first, I guess it's Planet One because it's the first one?
Yeah, it's, the doctor says it's the oldest planet in the universe. Although, when I was doing research, I was looking on the TARDIS wiki, and when I searched for Planet One, it said, you may be looking for Planet One. So apparently this Planet One is Planet One spelled out O-N-E. There's also Planet One numeral 1 from a book called The Doctor Trap that I have not read.
It's a different one. It's a different planet.
According to the TARDIS wiki, it is a different planet. There are two planets.
I have to wonder, is the name being translated by, because this is an episode that has to do with translation, which I know about. I took 4 years of Spanish. That's another feature as to why I'm an important person to have on this podcast. And I mean, I say that I'm horrible at learning languages. What are you like at learning languages?
I also took 4 years of Spanish and a year of Japanese. I'm not good at learning languages, but I'm really good at pronouncing languages correctly because I'm also a classically trained singer. So I learned to sing in French and German and Spanish and Italian. I don't know what any of the words mean, but my pronunciation is on point, and that's one of the reasons I'm good at accents too, I think.
I was bad at vocabulary, at remembering what words are. I was good at conjugating. So I was like, I don't know what you're saying, but I know what verb tense you're using.
Yeah.
I know who in the room you're speaking to and what you think about them. How close your relationship is.
So my freshman year of college, I took Japanese for a year, and I remember going to see.
That's like peak 8 different languages. Are you talking to the second born? Have you secretly longed for their touch for 30 years or 20 years?
Well, so I don't remember a ton of it, but I remember later in that year, I think I went to see a Miyazaki film. And we watched it in Japanese, but with English subtitles. And I remember a couple times during the movie, I was just like, I don't know what they said, but I understood the grammatical structure and syntax of that sentence. Yay!
Yeah, like that was my main thing. And the reason why I took Spanish is one, because school makes you get to pick between Spanish and French. It's like, okay, I pick Spanish because I am Puerto Rican and I cannot understand a word that my grandfather says, who also speaks English, but he speaks it with a thick Puerto Rican
Oh, okay.
accent. And I told my teacher this, like, oh, I'd love to be able to like speak to him in Spanish. And she was an elderly Mexican woman, and she was like, oh, that's great. Where's your grandfather from? I was like, Puerto Rico. He's like, I can't help you with that. I can't. That's a different thing.
That's amazing.
We can't help you there. I can teach you Mexican Spanish. I am obligated by this school to teach you Spanish, and I will tell you how wrong Spanish is.
That's so good.
She would yell whenever we would have to learn like vosotros. It's like, nobody uses this. Don't use this. This is the colonizer's word.
I hate vosotros just because I was taught to hate it. But at the same time, it's like, I do like a plural you. I've started using y'all. Although, I know that Spanish has like ustedes they kind of use that for both formal and informal.
Yeah, it's nice having a you all and a y'all. All y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
And all y'all don't know what I'm talking about because I just went on a tangent without explaining the tangent as I am wont to do.
Yeah.
Which is, they're going to this old-ass planet because there's some writing on the old-ass planet, and they gotta figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm. They just decide to do that.
Imagine going on like this feels like a Google Translate commercial where, in the commercials for it, like somebody's going like all the way around the world just so they can talk to someone with their phone. I was like, so that's what they were saying. That's what this entire clip is.
It's so true.
And he's like, oh, nobody knows what it says because no one was around to translate it. Also, babe, no one was there. No one existed. But like, who was around to read it? I don't know what language it's supposed to be in.
That's another thing. So it's a message from River Song it says hello sweetie and space-time coordinates for the doctor to go to. I feel like this is River Song's MO, because this also happens in a couple times throughout Series 5. It's just like, we're just doing like weird space adventures, and then we find a message from River because she...
For doing diamond graffiti, which I can't have been good for the environment, River. True. Are diamonds an invasive species? I don't know, like, that can't have been good for, like, she just Mount Rushmore'd this shit.
Well, I think the cliff is already made of diamonds, and it's...
But she took out the diamonds!
I mean, to be fair, that's a very River thing to do.
She does not care about conservation.
Yeah. I was thinking about this too, because she describes herself as an archaeologist, and
she's bad at it!
I don't think she or Indiana Jones actually knows what archaeology is.
No, it's definitely not doing that. I think that's the opposite, is just going back. It was like, I'm gonna go to like the old ass planet, the first planet, Planet 1, not to be confused with Planet Number 1, Planet Uno, Planet Numerology, Planet I, not those ones. I'm going to Planet 1. And I just want to make my mark. I want to write, bitches were here, up on a cliff, because I think it's going to be funny one day.
Yeah. It's the easiest way to get a message to the doctor, right?
There's easier. He has a phone. He has a phone? He's in a box, and the defining feature of the box is the phone on it. Do you think he gets unlimited texts and minutes? What is his roaming charge?
I feel like the TARDIS is some kind of like illegal phone almost. Like it should be charging him, but it's sort of the time-space phone equivalent of like stealing your neighbor's cable or something, or just like if you're like, oh, look, we accidentally have HBO somehow.
My dad had a TV that did that of whenever one of his neighbors was watching on demand, he would get the on demand. And he knew it was on demand because he could watch them like pause it and rewind it and then go back. And it would just be like random episodes of stuff. That was how we watched the show Weeds, is one of his neighbors was watching the show Weeds. And so it's like, okay, let's all gather around and watch Weeds. And then I guess like we missed some, and then we started renting it from Blockbuster. It was also how I watched. There was just this news show, and they would just give like pop culture news, but they would also take their clothes off while they did it. Wow. And that's how I learned I'm bisexual.
Yay, we did it.
Thank you, Weird TV.
You're welcome.
Which sounds like the channel that they would put that on.
Weird TV? Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, as I was doing this, I realized that this is episode 2 of the podcast, and we talked about the Big Bang last week, and I'm very tickled by the fact that this is part 1 of a 2-parter, and the second part is called The Big Bang.
They got it wrong.
We're not going to get to it for a while.
I imagine the next episode, which is an episode that I have watched multiple times and saw so many Tumblr GIFs for, and have read people's commentary on the Pandorica Opens of the Big Bang. Do not remember a thing that happens. I have to assume that they all gather around a television as the doctor goes, "Hey, do you want to see that time I was in the Big Bang?"
Hey, everybody, do you want to watch Stitches in Time right now?
The doctor should really just have a clip show.
Oh my gosh, a Doctor Who clip show would be incredible. Just like...
I want it to be like the Revolutionary Girl Utena clip show, where it actually, the most important like kind of plot surprise drop is just in the middle of the clip show, and it's 3 seconds, and there's also no audio, so if you happen to like be half listening and like doing something else, you will completely miss it, and then the next episode will make no sense to you.
I love that.
What time period are we in? Do you have
that? We are in, let me consult my spreadsheet. This is, I put this at about 8 billion BC. And the reason I did that was...
urban dating.
Yeah, I mean, when I was... because I went to visit Planet 1 and figured out how old it is. No,
if you get the DVD, if you carbon date it, it will show up properly.
Oh. Okay, great. But I have to carbon date the specific sliver of the DVD that has this clip in it.
Yeah, Becca, I'm gonna be real with you. Okay. I haven't told anyone this, and it's something of, I kind of kept it secret. I learned about carbon dating in middle school. I still don't know how they do it or what it really is.
Oh my gosh. It's really
I know
cool,
I know it's like they make like the carbon, they like track of how it like splits off and how it dies, the dating and how to do it, but how they do that, no one has told me. Do they like swab it? Does it go in a thing?
That I don't know. I think
is there also... like a machine?
There's probably a machine. I'm gonna simplify your entire life right now and just tell you there's probably a machine.
Do you think River knows? I don't think that she does. I think that she just travels back to whenever it happened and then goes back and like, I've carbon dated it to this time because I went back to this time.
I'm an archaeologist.
She just scrubs through the universe to find when they made it. And be like, yeah, Jeff made it in 1200 BC. Did you know we had Jeffs back then?
Honestly, that's the discovery of the century. We had Jeffs in 12,000 BC. No, the real reason I put this at 8 billion BC was because I was doing research on how long after the Big Bang that like stars started to form, and like it takes a while because at first it's just a bunch of gases and nebulae, and then it condenses into a star, and then the star has gravity to it that attracts other dust that makes... And I apparently thought, yeah, around 8 billion BC is probably where, like, the first planets could potentially have formed, so I'm assuming that that is a thing.
So it's around there, which is it's been a bit of a jump.
A bit of a jump, yeah. Yeah, we just skipped over 5.8 billion years.
Yeah, and it's not even like the Doctor is going now for the sake of like, oh, I want to have an adventure on this old ass planet. He's just like, oh, I'm here for the start of a journey.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a note or something. But
he's here for an adventure, and the adventure is 45 seconds long.
Yeah.
There's a part in So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, which is, I believe, the fourth book in the Hitchhiker's Guide series, written by Doctor Who writer Douglas Adams. There's a bit in it that says it's the last message from God to his creation that's carved into a mountain. And
isn't So Long and Thanks for All the Fish the Hitchhiker's Guide book that was originally a Doctor Who script that he just kind of reworked? I know one of them is.
Oh, it may have been. I'm not sure. There's moment in, I think, Life, the Universe, and Everything where...
it might be that one.
Because I remember, like, reading that, and they materialize on a cricket pitch on a sofa.
Yes. Yeah, it's the Cricket Men. That's what it is.
There's a moment in, I think it's either The Chase or the Daleks' Master Plan, which is Hartnell era Who, that where the TARDIS materializes on a cricket pitch, and they just like comment on it like, this is not what usually happens. There's a police box on the pitch.
I watched the Hitchhiker's Guide movie recently, and watching it with the idea of this is Douglas Adams kind of taking a Doctor Who script that doesn't like, and then kind of taking it his own thing, or like him very much being in Doctor Who kind of writing while he is creating this, makes a lot of sense. Of the entire thing is like, being a companion is kind of fucked up. Being a companion kind of sucks.
Oh, interesting.
Because the whole, the not most deaf, but the one that's most deaf,
right,
is basically the Doctor.
Yeah, and Arthur Dent is basically the companion.
Yeah,
I never thought about it like that, but that's really interesting.
Ford Prefect is his name.
Ford Prefect. Yes.
So I feel like Ford Prefect and Zaphod Beeblebrox, like, I feel like they're both kind of the Doctor. This is like a multi-Doctor story, because you have, like, here's when the Doctor is, like, cool, and just wants to, like, hang out, and is a little, like, doesn't think a lot, like, hey, that kills people. Maybe don't do that. And then the Zaphod Beeblebrox, the true, oh, I know this kills people, and I'm down for it.
Yeah.
And then my shipping theory is that Trillian is kind of like a Susan type. And so it's like, oh, here's Arthur Dent being like, oh, I like this girl, and now I have to go to space against my will. And if you watch The Hitchhiker's Guide, or you read the book, but it's going to take you a lot less time to just watch the movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's another part of this that I wasn't sure that I was going to bring up, but the more I think about it, the more it bothers me, which is on the cliff face, it says it's hello sweetie and space-time coordinates for where they have to go. The space-time coordinates are all Greek letters though. And so now I'm like, okay, wait, if the TARDIS is translating,
why wouldn't it just keep translating into a...
Yeah, like what, I mean, do they use Greek letters to do space-time coordinates? Like, that seems to be the implication, but then, like, also, you're writing Greek on a cliff face. Like, I don't know. Where does it end?
Yeah, that does invite the question of they're like, "Oh, nobody's translate. Nobody knows what one." Again, this is a planet that isn't Earth. There's no reason to think that they just aren't able to translate English, and River just wrote it in English.
I really like that idea that no one who speaks English has ever been to this planet, so they're just like, it's some ancient language no one can possibly translate. That's incredible. I've never been happier with an explanation of
I guess the main
anything.
determining factor, because also like the doctor isn't going to know because it's always just going to translate. I guess he would know if like, oh well, it's not being translated into Gallifrey, and he's just seeing a bunch of circles and shit.
Yeah, I wonder if the Doctor even like knows how to speak English, or if the TARDIS is just translated for everyone else where he's been. I have so many questions, and I'm pretty sure none of them are ever going to be answered. But here we are. I don't have anything else for this episode, so unless you do.
I was gonna ask you, what do you think's gonna happen next? But you know what happens next. I'm the one who doesn't.
In this episode, in the proper.
Yeah. And again, I need to reiterate, I have watched it. I should know. It's typically my experience whenever I like rewatch an episode of Doctor Who is I just get a lot of deja vu of like, yeah, that's the thing that I would expect them to happen. Except if I'm just trying to like, here's the real test of it of, hey, I've watched this bit, what do I think is going to happen next? And I can only assume that they're going to find River and go like, hey, why are you graffitiing planets? That's bad. Also, what did you do with the rest of the diamonds?
That's a good point.
And then they bedazzle some shit.
They bedazzle some pants in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Specifically for Mandy.
They have to put Juicy on them. They invent Juicy Couture.
8 billion BC, everyone.
Yeah.
Way ahead of its time. So I want to start by saying I really love your guessing of what happens in episodes that you haven't seen and or don't remember. So this is the one where they meet up in River and Amy and the Doctor meet up at Stonehenge, and they go underneath Stonehenge where the Pandorica is, which is a big box.
Okay.
Big box.
I knew
prison.
Stonehenge was involved.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is one of those things where he's like, oh yeah, the Pandorica and Stonehenge, those are they're buddies. I know Rory is involved somehow. He's not in this bit, and that was the surprise. Because it's like, oh, I know that you're involved, but you're not here yet. And then even the like, oh, the messages from River. I was like, well, not expecting that, because all I know about the Pandorica is something Rory is there.
Yeah, Rory shows up. Rory is a Roman soldier in it.
Yeah. Which, like, I'm glad he was doing something. I do have a good, like, because one of the things that I do, like, I remember more, like, character beats than, like, what actually happened in sci-fi things. And so I, like, toward their finale, when they, like, go off and, like, oh, we got a divorce because having children fucked us up because our children was fucking River, and that's weird. They really focused on that, and I feel like they didn't need to do that. That was a weird choice. All they needed to do was like, hey, Rory's just been around and alive for far longer than any human was meant to be alive. And he refuses to go to therapy about it.
Oh my gosh. There needs to be a support group for Rory and Jack Harkness and all of these people. Just like...
Yeah. Preferably not together. I would like Jack Harkness to just be... That's a person that I would actually just like to put in a box and never see again. I don't like him.
Let's put him in the Pandorica. I'm down for that. I like the character of Jack when he's with the Doctor. When he's just in his Torchwood team, he's a very different person. And
He's just very like there's something about the way that, and they do it a little bit with River too, but it's a lot more egregious with Jack. Of when Doctor Who tries to have a character who is like flirty and sexy, it just feels like someone who really wants me to pee on them. It's just he just radiates that energy of like Pete. He's like I'm such a daddy dom. I'm so sexy and cool, and I was like I'm not gonna pee on you. I'm not. He's just very weird. It's like very desperate and like I don't like him. He wears little diaper pants.
I'm sorry. I was fully prepared to be like, oh, we'll talk about him when we see him on screen. But then you brought up the term diaper pants. And I must know more immediately.
I just like that sort of person, and it might be a thing of like I spent a lot of time going through my universe where people really got like sexy librarian vibes from me, so I would get like hit on a lot by people who are like into weird kink shit, and it would again be someone who was like, oh, I want to come off like I'm like a dom, like I'm a top, like I'm really hardcore and stuff, and it's like you're not. You're weak baby. You're weak baby. You're weak baby, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
no.
Fair.
And I should say, no disrespect to the actual like, hey, if that's your actual thing, great. Be honest about it.
Fair.
Accept yourself. And don't try to be like, oh, I'm cool, because I'm gonna curb stomp you.
Yeah. I have nothing to add except that I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yeah, next time on the podcast, we're going to be talking about flux. What's the flux?
Flux.
Fun times.
Flux.
Also, if you want to visit our website, it's Stitches in Time. It's stitchesintie.me. It's
what is the .me code? Like, what is that for? What is it from?
I think the idea is like, oh, it's like your personal website. It's like, this is me, which is probably why the domain name was so cheap. And basically why I named this whole thing Stitches in Time, because I was like, I don't want to pay too much for a domain. Let's just
you've really screwed over you've really screwed over the personal website of old Stitchy Inty, who just wanted to have their portfolio up. They're in archaeology. I was gonna say an architect, and then I just got stuck in archaeology. I have my archaeology portfolio. It's just a picture of me next to a bunch of dirt.
If there's one thing I've learned from this episode of this podcast, it's that all archaeologists are garbage. Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca, the Matrix Archivist. Art by Mandy Okendo. Logo by Ben Padden. Find us on the web at www.stitchesintie.me. Stitches in Time, but with a dot in the middle of the word time.
DiGiorno likes a new Doctor Who. My previous cat liked old Doctor Who because it's filmed like a Lifetime movie. And she loved those.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
She loved Lifetime movies. She hated Lady Gaga.
I love how many opinions cats have.
All we have to do is open the doors and read the very first words in recorded history.
This is from bbcamerica.com. Some little tidbits, and one of the things I thought was interesting says the idea of a cliff face with a significant historical mention. I'm gonna take that again. It says the idea of a cliff face with a significant historical
The idea of a cliff face with a significant historical mention is whatever the rest of the sentence was going to be. Because Becca has it, and I do not. But I'm going to read it as if I do. This is Mandy Okendo with NPR.
All right. I'm not going to read this verbatim because I'm bad at reading, apparently.